Truth or dare? Someone asked Ryan. If you had another chance, would you choose Miriam or Olivia? Ryan downed a full glass of liquor. With a distant look, he said, I was too poor back then. Olivia would have only suffered if she stayed with me. So he chose me. But things are different now. He has money. He has power. He has status. He shelters Olivia like a delicate treasure. Even kneeling down on one knee. Letting her step on him like he's her pedestal. As for me, he doesn't understand. I already gave you the title of wife. What more do you want? Chapter 1. Today is my birthday. Ryan asked what my birthday wish was. I tossed my earrings aside. Blew out the candles half-heartedly. Then put my hands together and said solemnly, I wish we could get divorced. Soon. Ryan froze. The already thin smile on his face slowly disappeared. After a moment, he sighed, rubbing his temples with a bit of frustration. Still mad? Didn't I rush back just for you? Don't keep throwing around the word divorce. I might actually take it seriously. I looked at Ryan. He looked tired. After all, he had just spent a week in Northern Europe with Olivia. Must have been exhausting. Then he sat through a 9-hour flight. Drove straight from the airport to Huading. Picked me up. Had someone prep the cake in advance. Sent the maid out for fresh groceries. And the moment we got home, he cooked an elaborate meal for my birthday. He hadn't even changed his clothes. This would have touched me to tears in past years. Made me feel like the luckiest woman in the world. But this year was different. I felt nothing. No gratitude. Only irritation. I stared directly into his eyes. Expressionless. Divorce. 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 Loud and clear enough? If not, I can say it again. Just, please, take it seriously. Ryan's expression turned cold. His jaw clenched. Muscles twitching. He kicked the chair. The screech pierced the air. Miriam, enough. How long are you going to keep this up? You think this is fun? He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. I didn't forget your birthday. I came back to be with you. That should count for something. I'm going to take a shower. You cool off too. Then he turned and went upstairs without looking back. I looked at the sweet, creamy cake and the steaming dishes on the table and wondered, why does he think spending this birthday with me is something I should be thankful for? My friends had prepared fireworks, fine wine, and charming company. I could have had a perfect night, but Ryan showed up out of nowhere and ruined it all. Gentle, polite, affectionate. He held my hand and said to everyone with a smile, May I borrow Miriam for the night? Then he pulled me away. I didn't resist, didn't protest. I even smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I've worn the mask of elegance too long. It becomes instinct to perform it. Chapter 2. Ryan was upstairs taking a shower. I lounged on the sofa, smoking. The phone rang. Just as I lit my second cigarette. It was Olivia. I stared at the screen for half a minute. Silent. Without answering, then I stubbed the cigarette out in the ashtray and poured myself a glass of wine. The phone rang again. Still Olivia. I answered. Put it on speaker. Her voice came sharp and spoiled through the speaker. Where's Ryan? Put him on. I didn't respond. Just downed the glass in one go. Miriam. I know you're listening. Say something. Put Ryan on. I need to talk to him. Ugh. If his phone weren't off. Do you think I'd ever call you? So annoying. Her irritation practically spat through the phone. I curled my lip, unfazed. He's in the shower. What is it? Silence. Then a few seconds later, her voice returned. Sharp and bitter. Wow. Not wasting a second. Are we? Is sex the only thing you two know how to do? Disgusting. I let out a soft laugh. Well, at least we do it legally. Not even the cops can say a word. Or are you expecting him to stay celibate for you? You're disgusting. Olivia snapped. I wouldn't lower myself to sleep with him. Maybe he's your prize. But to me, he's nothing. She sounded like she meant it. I didn't bother arguing. So, what do you want? If you're not gonna say it, I'm hanging up. The code. She blurted out. Desperate. What's the code to the house? It's that long string of numbers. I can never remember it. So annoying. Chapter 3, 942,944. The code. The password to every smart lock in every property. The lock screen password on Ryan's phone. It's never changed. Not once in all these years. I once asked Ryan what those 6 numbers meant. He answered flatly, nothing, just something random, and I believed him. For a while, until one day. I used T9 input on his phone, and typed those numbers. The word that popped up, Olivia. I said nothing, hung up the phone, tossed it aside. Just as I poured myself another glass of wine, Ryan came out of the bathroom. In a bathrobe. Towel drying his hair. I handed him a document. What's this? Divorce papers. Sign them. Ryan stared coldly at me. Walked past me, toward the liquor cabinet. I lifted my arm, and flipped the entire dinner table. The crash echoed through the midnight silence. Like a slap, Ryan lost it. He stormed toward me. What the hell do you want from me? Just because I wasn't there for your birthday on time? I laughed. A dry, scornful laugh. Don't flatter yourself. You're really not that important. You can either sign these divorce papers calmly, or we can burn this place down, and then you sign. Ryan's face went stiff. He threw the towel violently to the floor. You're insane. He turned and headed for the stairs. I spoke up. Olivia called earlier. Said she couldn't reach you. Didn't know the house code. Couldn't get in. Ryan froze mid-step. Why didn't you say so earlier? Did you give her the code? Why would I? My voice was icy. Ryan's frown deepened. He turned to rush upstairs, to change clothes, but I moved faster, ran up behind him, and kicked him square in the back. As he fell, I pinned his hands behind him, and pushed my knee into his spine. Ryan groaned. Furious. Miriam, what the hell are you doing? I bent low beside his face, and slapped the divorce papers onto it. Sign it, or you're not stepping out that door tonight. Let your little princess freeze for a while. This time. Ryan didn't speak for a long time, until finally, he muttered, You know what I hate most about you? You always resort to violence. Chapter 4. My relationship with Ryan is complicated. Back in those poorest years, we lived one floor apart, but didn't exchange a single word. My mom was beautiful, had me at 19. After that, men never stopped circling her. My grandma, burned from experience, raised me like a boy. She even had me trained by the boxing coach who lived downstairs. He was a mountain of muscle, but had a sickly son, a delicate little prince he held like spun glass. That was Ryan, and the man was his father. As kids, I took Ryan under my wing, protected him, called him my little brother, said, I've got you covered. That promise lasted 10 years, until the day my grandma passed, and Ryan's father died. We were suddenly 2 kids with no one left. Should have clung together, shared warmth, survived the cold. But strangely, and I don't know why, he started to pull away. I'm not stupid. I felt the shift, felt the way I was no longer welcome, so I stopped trying to warm his cold shoulders with my burned palms. He had good grades, a good face, but he was cold and frail. He didn't fit in with anyone. In high school, boys full of testosterone started picking on him. I heard a few guys on the court laugh. That pretty boy is annoying. Let's break one of his fingers. His fingers, they weren't meant for fights. They were for books, for writing, for changing his life. So I followed them, and used the techniques Ryan's dad taught me to teach them a lesson. I got hurt too, but it was fine. I'm tough. I can take it. I was climbing the stairs after, bloody but steady, when I saw Ryan waiting in the shadows. He took my hand, pulled me into his home, got out the medical kit, and started treating my wounds like a pro. It was the first time I'd stepped into his home since his dad died. His father had been stabbed while trying to stop a crime. He could have easily handled the attackers, but one of them had a knife. It went into his stomach, came out, then went in again. He died before he could even say goodbye to Ryan. The man he saved disappeared that night. The attacker got jail time, but never paid a cent. At the grave, Ryan knelt in front of the tombstone. Expressionless. He said, he deserved it. Overestimated himself. What I hate most is people who only know how to use violence. That's when he started ignoring me, stopped talking altogether. That day, as he quietly dressed my wounds, he spoke in a soft, slow voice. Miriam, don't fight for me again, ever. Chapter 5. Ryan hadn't looked this pathetic in a long time. He signed his name with force at the bottom of the divorce papers, then threw them to the ground, got dressed and stormed out. I, on the other hand, had a lovely sleep, woke naturally, refreshed, and called the movers to start packing. When Ryan came back, the workers were carrying out that giant oil painting. What are you doing? Who told you to touch that? He got out of the car and ran over, his expression ugly. The workers all looked at each other, awkward. I stepped out, calm and composed. I told them to. Problem? Ryan inhaled deeply, frustrated. What is it this time? Isn't that my painting? Olivia stepped out from the passenger seat, voice dripping with fake annoyance. Ryan, you bought it? Why didn't you tell me? Ugh, you're the worst. But her eyes sparkled as she stared at the painting. Ryan froze, glancing at me instinctively. I smiled, just slightly. Sorry to disappoint you. I bought it. Back then, I must have been blind. Spent nearly $200,000 on that thing. Looking at it now, disgusting. That was during the hardest part of Ryan's startup days. He barely had time to breathe, but still carved out hours to spend with me. He took me to a gallery. I knew nothing about art, had no idea what was good or bad, but I noticed him pause in front of one painting, lingering, unwilling to leave. So I scrimped and saved, pulled all the money I'd earned over those years, and bought it as his birthday gift. Later, we moved houses, again and again, each one bigger than the last. But the painting always came with us. I thought he cherished it, because it was from me, until he flew to Hong Kong and brought back Olivia. One afternoon, Olivia painted in the courtyard, her signature, identical to the one on that oil painting. What does it feel like when your entire world shatters into fragments? Hard to say. All I know is that I squatted on the ground for a long time, face pale, teeth clenched so tightly I could taste blood and rust. Chapter 6. My words clearly struck a nerve in Olivia. She flared up and started to charge at me. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Ryan grabbed her, holding her back. Before she could reach me, Olivia looked at him, stunned. You're defending her? She shook him off, eyes turning red, and spun around to storm away. Ryan didn't let go, but his voice softened. Come on, just wait in the car for me. Olivia puffed up her cheeks, still furious, glared at me one last time, then finally turned and went back to the car. Ryan seemed like he wanted to say something. I smiled faintly, mocking. Olivia may not see it, but I do. You're not stopping her for my sake. You're protecting her. But relax. I won't touch her. She's not worth dirtying my own hands. His face stiffened for a moment, but Ryan was too seasoned. He quickly regained composure. You think too much. I'm only helping her out of old friendship. Don't project your own twisted thoughts onto us. Hypocrite. That was the only word I could think of. I sneered. You really don't want her? No, you just don't deserve her. Olivia was born a princess, back when Ryan and I had just 5 yuan a day to live on. She wore a 12,000 yuan hair clip. Girls like her, we weren't even supposed to breathe the same air. But somehow, she transferred to our school that year. The proud little heiress immediately set her sights on Ryan. Hey, can I sit next to you? No. Can you help me with these math problems? No time. Ryan, I like you. I don't like you. She got rejected, again and again, and when her pride couldn't take it anymore, she started retaliating. She spilled milk all over his test. She dumped soup on his uniform. She mocked him for wearing old shoes. She even accused him of stealing her pen. Ryan told me not to interfere, said he could handle it, but his grades started slipping. I had enough. I confronted Olivia, warned her, if she touched Ryan again, I wouldn't be polite. Ryan was furious. He made me apologize, carried Olivia's bag home like some knight. Then he told me, we can't afford to make her our enemy. Not yet. We have to endure until we're no longer at anyone's mercy. I used to think Ryan hated Olivia, but people are complicated. There's no such thing as pure love or pure hate, only a mess of both. Tangled and tight. Chapter 7. Ryan ignored the busy workers inside the villa, grabbed the documents he needed, and left without looking back. All he said was, do whatever you want. So I did exactly that. I threw away the oil painting, the wedding photo, the master bedroom bed, even that entire closet full of Ryan's suits. The last truck carried off everything I owned, rolling away like a funeral procession. That night, I slept on a makeshift mat in the half-empty house, eyes open until almost dawn. When I woke up, I was in a bed, made up, neat, soft. I wasn't surprised. Didn't think I'd sleepwalked. Didn't think some stranger had broken in. There was only one person who'd know where to find me. Of course, Ryan. Sure enough, when I walked out of the bedroom, he was boiling noodles in the kitchen. Ryan was always a quick learner. Back when we were too poor to afford takeout or even cheap cafeteria food, he taught himself everything. Boiling, stir-frying, stewing. He'd follow a recipe once and somehow make it taste decent. I was the opposite. Hopeless. He never got it. Why can't you just follow the recipe for once? Why do you always go off script? And I never understood him either. It's just a scallion. What's the big deal? Why insist on going out just to get that? Those chaotic days, full of steam, noise, and burnt rice, were oddly warm, but thinking back now, they feel like a past life. You're up. Go brush your teeth, wash your face, breakfast's ready. I didn't move. The deed has my name on it. From now on, don't come here again. Ryan paused mid-stir. He turned off the burner, shut off the stove fan, and turned to face me. I can promise you this. Olivia will never threaten our marriage. You'll always be my wife. What more do you want? Chapter 8. And that was what I wasn't okay with. He expected me to stay quiet, to endure. Do you know how many good days I've actually had? 2 days ago was my 30th birthday. Go back 10 months. I got pregnant. Go back another 6. Ryan's company went public. At 18, we both got into university. Ryan started dabbling in finance through stocks, while teaching himself software development. I wasn't as gifted, so I sold small things for a profit. Later, I became a sparring partner. Sophomore year, Ryan had built up some savings. He got bolder. I rented a storefront near campus. Became my own boss. By second semester, he lost everything. I sold off all the inventory, emptied my savings, and covered his losses. At 20, starting over wasn't scary. He said he'd make sure I had a good life. I said we'd build it together. He wrote code. I became a personal trainer, one-on-one. Later, he wanted to start his own company. He needed capital. Once again, I gave him everything, even borrowed loans. Ryan even sold his childhood home. We went all in, and he made it. From small startup, to full-fledged company, to IPO. He did it in 7 years. In those 7 years, the first 3, I worked for him for free. The next 2, he supported me. Once, at a high school reunion, they played Truth or Dare. Ryan chose truth. Someone asked, if you had another chance, would you choose Miriam or Olivia? It was the kind of question that made your back go stiff. But Ryan answered instantly, pulled me close. Of course Miriam. 100 times, Miriam. Really? Someone pressed. He'd stepped out to smoke on the balcony, left his phone behind. I brought it to him. He didn't know I was there, and I heard him say, Back then I was too poor. If Olivia had stayed with me, she'd only have suffered. Girls like her, they can't live that kind of life. And Miriam? Miriam's different. She's not afraid of suffering. It was a strange feeling. Even now, it doesn't feel like I was the one who heard those words. More like I was a spectator, watching a scene on stage. No pain, no shame, just numb, utterly disconnected. I didn't confront Ryan, didn't cry. I went on like normal, for 3 months. So normal, that when I look back now, I can't even remember what I did, or what I was thinking. I didn't get it then. Much later, I learned a term, dissociation, a survival instinct. When the pain is too great, the brain flips a switch, severs the connection, to keep your mind from collapsing. That must have been me. My grandma always said, be a weed, not a flower. Flowers wilt. Weeds come back even after fire. So I rebuilt myself. First the body, then the skills, then the mind. I trained, burned fat, sculpted muscle. I worked with wealthy women, trained them, taught nutrition, helped them regain control of their bodies. They became the first members of my wellness club. Money buys time. Time brings clarity. At first, Ryan thought it was a hobby. He mocked me until I opened my first branch. He even showed up to cut the ribbon, arm around my waist, looking at me like he finally saw something real. I got busier. Trainings, live streams, courses, public speaking. When a woman begins to move forward without hesitation, her thoughts grow like wild vines. Quickly, they form an entire architecture. And from that moment on, I began cutting, one by one, every string Ryan had ever tied to me. Chapter 9. Ryan. I just want a few peaceful days. We're the type who can survive hardship together, but can't share fortune. You and Olivia, do whatever you want. Just leave me out of it. I'm serious about the divorce. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. And now, get the hell out of my house. With every word. Ryan's anger flared higher. He growled low. I've said it 100 times, there's nothing between me and Olivia. What will it take for you to believe me? Emotions are contagious. I'd been relatively calm, but now his shouting lit my own fire. You think I've been tolerating you two all this time, because I'm just easygoing? Olivia entering the entertainment industry, at 30? Not easy, I'm sure, but I trust you can throw enough money to prop her up. But what if I step forward and accuse her of wrecking my marriage? Ryan tried to respond, but I cut him off. Don't waste your breath on me. If I don't see you at the registry tomorrow, save your excuses. Tell them to the press. Ryan left 2 hours ago. 2 hours later, Olivia called, straight to the point, gave me an address. Let's talk in person. I stared at the 5-second call log, sat still for a long while, then blocked her number. But Olivia's been spoiled all her life. First by her parents, then, after they went bankrupt, by Ryan. So she's come to believe the whole world should bend for her. She barged into my flagship store, sunglasses on, stormed into the office. Tell Miriam to come out and see me. The coach called me. I was working out. He asked what to do. I told him, don't bother. Then I called Ryan. He didn't pick up. I raised an eyebrow and dialed his assistant, Olivia's manager now. Madam, what can I do for you? Tell Ryan to control his woman. If she keeps this up, I'll take it to the press. A few minutes later, Olivia stormed out. She even smashed one of my coffee mugs. On her way out, honestly, I could already guess what she wanted to say. Probably something like, she never wanted Ryan. Ryan means nothing to her. Don't drag her into our drama. She's focused on her career, not here to compete with other women. She's said it so many times, that even she believes it now. Chapter 10. I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau at exactly 8 a.m. After waiting for half an hour, with no sign of Ryan. I called him. Before I could speak, his restrained anger crackled through the line. I'm on the way. Wait a bit. So I waited another hour. just when I was about to lose it. Ryan's car finally pulled up. He got out of the driver's seat, but didn't lock the car. Instead, he opened the passenger door, and in that moment, my heart sank like a rock. I watched Olivia step out. Clearly annoyed, she looked in the mirror, grumbling. Ugh, it's your fault for rushing. My eyebrows are uneven now. Look. She leaned toward Ryan. Don't I look awful? Ryan froze, subtly pulled away, then glanced at me. Maybe my face was too cold. His jaw tightened. All right, didn't you say you had something to say to Miriam? Olivia stopped. I couldn't see her whole expression, but half her face was enough. She was clearly unhappy. She walked over to me. You really don't have to make such a scene, she said. I've told you 100 times. Ryan and I are clean. If you want a divorce, go ahead, but don't drag me into it. I'm not your scapegoat. I seriously don't get it. She added with a frown and obvious disdain. In your mind, is every man-woman relationship about love or sex? What? You can't live without a man? I didn't respond, just stared down, scrolling through my phone. My obvious disinterest clearly pissed Olivia off. Miriam, do you have any manners? I'm talking to you. The next second, Ryan's phone dinged with a message. I looked up. Just because I didn't come after you too. Did you really think I was afraid of you? No, I just don't think you're worth the effort. I pointed at Olivia. You, get back in the car. Then at Ryan. You, come with me and get this divorce done. You, Olivia tried to scream, but Ryan stopped her. His face had never looked worse. He clutched his phone so tightly. His fingertips had gone white. And no wonder. I just sent him 2 photos and a video. In the first photo, Olivia was wrapped in a towel, Ryan carrying her in his arms. In the second, Ryan was on one knee, Olivia's foot stepping on his thigh. The video was even better. Inside a hotel room, Olivia took off her coat with her back to the camera. Ryan's tie was undone, and he was pulling the curtains closed. How did you get that video? Ryan's voice was dark and low. Did you hire someone to film it? I shook my head casually. No, but the guy who filmed it came to me first. Wanted $4 million for it. I didn't want to pay, so I gave him your number instead. Nothing happened, Olivia cried, panicking. I ignored her. My eyes stayed fixed on Ryan. Whether you did or didn't doesn't matter. If it didn't, you wouldn't have paid the $4 million, and I knew. They probably hadn't actually slept together. Olivia was still playing the game. She wouldn't give it up that easily. It'd lower her value. But that didn't matter. You can't prove something didn't happen. And in the world of scandals, the hint of a rumor is more destructive than the truth. I didn't leak it. Because I still hold shares in the company. A market crash hurts me too. But Ryan, don't push me. I turned and headed to the elevator. By the time the elevator reached B1, Ryan had followed. He didn't speak. Silent all the way. We took a number. We waited. Are you sure you want a divorce? The clerk asked. Yes, I said. And Ryan answered too. Yes. 24 years of history. 5 years of marriage. 1 child that came and went too soon. Ended. When I walked out of the bureau, I looked up at the sky. My nose stung. I wasn't even sure why. Suddenly, I started driving, turning and looping until I ended up on the highway. I went straight back to the city where Ryan and I used to live. I visited my grandma's grave, then sat quietly by Ryan's father's tombstone. That strong man once told me, you have to protect Ryan, but more importantly, you have to protect yourself. As a child, I never understood my grandma. Why did she raise me like a boy? Why cut my hair short? Why never let me wear dresses? Why make me train? Why not let me accept candy or gifts from others? In middle school, a boy gave me a love letter. I found it funny, but Grandma tore it up and cried in her room for hours. Her extremism once made me rebel, even run away. That was the only time she ever hit me, a hard slap across the face. Then she hugged me and cried, I don't have much time left. What will happen to you when I'm gone? You can't end up like your mother. You'll ruin yourself. She couldn't say things eloquently, but she knew one thing. Being pretty is addictive. Too much of it turns you useless. Her beautiful daughter had a child out of wedlock, ran off with a married man, and hurt everyone around her. All Grandma wanted was for her daughter's daughter to live with dignity. I think I didn't let her down, but I did disturb her peace. I used to cry at her grave all the time. But now I've never felt so damn good. Chapter 11. Ryan and I spent quite some time dividing up the assets. Transfers, ownership changes, everything done properly. When the lawyer first helped draft the divorce agreement, he told me, if you want speed, give up a little in the settlement. If you want full value, it'll take time. I thought it over for a long while, and ultimately split everything in a fair, rational way. Ryan didn't even read the documents carefully when he signed them. By the time he went back to look, he was silent for a long time. You're becoming more and more like a rational, successful businesswoman. I didn't shortchange you. That's not what I meant. I was getting busier and busier, and our interactions grew fewer and farther between. Olivia had joined a drama production. She hated playing second fiddle and threw attitude at everyone. A rich lady named Zoe mentioned it during a training session. Her husband had invested in the show. Ryan got Olivia in through that connection. So when the director vented frustrations, he went straight to their family. Zoe asked, confused, what exactly does Ryan see in her? She's not young, not stunning, and her temper's awful. Why put up with that? I supported her waist and told her to inhale, then smiled. The things you can't have always seem sweeter. White moonlight, it has deadly power. And apparently, I had become his white moonlight too. That day, Ryan suddenly called. The shampoo at home is out. What brand did you buy before? I was on the treadmill, breathing hard. The housekeeper orders it. Ask her. A pause. Where are you? What are you doing? I didn't answer. I hung up. 2 days later, in the middle of the night, his assistant called. Ma'am, the boss is drunk. Won't let me help. Can you come get him? I stared at the ceiling for a while, then replied with just 3 words. I can't go. Later that afternoon, Ryan called again. His voice sounded weak. The doctor asked if I have any medication allergies. I didn't know how to answer. That was when something hit me. I didn't speak. I could hear his faint breathing on the other end. It had been so long since we sat in silence like this. He was always busy. I was always busy. We only spoke when there was something important to say. Never small talk. But someone once said, the more nonsense couples share, the happier their marriage usually is. What are couples, really? It's 2 people willing to waste time together, even doing nothing. And somehow, even that had always been too hard for Ryan and me. Ryan, the way you've been calling me so much, you're making me think you regret it. His breathing froze for a second, then deepened. He growled, what do you mean, regret? I never wanted a divorce. You were the one being stubborn, you were the one forcing it. That's right. My voice was a little soft. I was forcing it. But isn't it strange? We were supposed to be husband and wife. Yet I could control you by manipulating another woman. I went on. You have no history of allergies, unless absolutely necessary. Don't contact me again. Chapter 12. Zoe's birthday. I was on the guest list. By the time I arrived, the party was already underway. I handed Zoe her gift, and she pulled me aside to chat for a while. Before long, she was swept away to greet other guests. As she left, she grabbed a man, shoved him in front of me, and said, my bestie, take care of her. Then to me, my brother, use him however you like. And just like that, she was gone, leaving me and her brother awkwardly staring at each other. But he quickly regained his composure and gave me a gentlemanly toast. Zach, what's your name? Miriam. Zach was warm, non-threatening, and easy to talk to. We hit it off quickly. When he found out I worked in fitness, he raised an eyebrow. My shoulders and neck have been stiff lately. Any suggestions for exercises? I set my glass down. Mind if I take your pulse? You know how? Just a little. I had studied with a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner to better support my clients who needed holistic wellness advice. With pulse reading, most signs are subtle, but you can still detect a few things. Like Zach, his pulse was taut, slightly weak on the left. Switch hands. The right was deep and thin. You've been staying up late. Liver qi stagnation. Not serious, but you have a mild headache right now, don't you? Zach looked at me in disbelief. You're good. I do have a bit of a headache. I glanced around. Let's find a quieter spot. I can do a pressure massage, not a cure, but it'll ease the tension. Sure. Just as we were about to head to the lounge, someone grabbed my wrist. It was Ryan. His face was tight, his eyes cold and focused on Zach. Need something? I asked. Yeah. Zach looked at me. Need help? 1 second. I smiled at him. Ryan dragged me away. I shook him off. What's your problem? Who's that guy? I instantly realized he didn't come to talk. He came to pick a fight. I turned to leave, but he pulled me back again. I looked at him calmly. Ryan, you can't have everything. Not everything belongs to you. And just for a second, I saw it. That moment of helpless confusion in his eyes. The look of a man who finally realized he was losing. Chapter 13. That night, Zach hitched a ride with me. I dropped him off at his place. I knew Ryan's car had been following us the whole time. Zach said, if you ever need help, don't hesitate to call. I politely declined, but we still exchanged contact information. I didn't head home right away. Instead, I parked by the roadside and waited. Sure enough, Ryan soon walked up slowly. Miriam, let's talk. I didn't know what we had left to talk about, or what was even worth saying anymore. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could get a word out, Olivia came charging in out of nowhere and grabbed his arm. Why didn't you answer my calls? What are you doing here? Do you even know what I've been through these days? You were following me? Olivia glared at Ryan. So what if I followed you? I just wanted to see what you've been so busy with every day. Ryan, you said you'd protect me, but when I needed you, when people hurt me, where were you? Is it because of her? She jabbed her finger in my direction, full of fury. I thought you were something special. Miriam, turns out it's just playing hard to get, always resorting to underhanded tricks. Aren't you tired of these dirty little games? Shut up. Ryan yanked her back, shielding me with his body. Olivia looked at him in utter disbelief. You're protecting her? Ryan, you begged me to come with you. You said you'd take care of me, that you'd protect me. You bastard. Ryan's temples were visibly throbbing. With every word Olivia threw at him, his fists clenched tighter at his sides. Once upon a time, Olivia's tears would have broken his heart. But now, they only suffocated him, irritated him, until he could barely breathe. Then he heard the car door close behind him. He spun around in shock. I looked calmly into the rearview mirror, started the engine, and drove away without a word. Chapter 14. Olivia got herself into trouble. Because of her arrogance and disregard for others, the director finally had enough. He declared that no matter who forced her into the cast, he was going to replace her. Unable to accept the humiliation, Olivia scratched the director's face during a confrontation. I looked at the clear photo evidence and told the person on the other end of the call. Send it out. Leave it vague for now, let the public guess her identity. I had always known that divorce wouldn't be easy. That's why I had to strike once, and strike hard. Olivia's appearance was perfectly timed. Controlling her meant I had a grip on Ryan's Achilles heel. At the same time, I was waiting for the right time. By now, Ryan's company had been listed for over a year. Once the one-year stock lock-in period ended, I started gradually cashing out my shares until I fully exited. All processes were legal and compliant. Now, my assets were more than enough to let me comfortably coast through the rest of my life. Before long, headlines about a no-name actress causing a scene on set shot to the trending list. Among the online discussions, two main theories emerged. 1. This actress had been genuinely wronged. 2. This actress had powerful backing. Soon, staff from the same production crew came forward to expose her behavior. They said she had zero acting skills, couldn't take any feedback, was arrogant, couldn't handle hardship, and even once threw a boxed lunch at a crew member. Apparently she's someone a big investor shoved into the cast. Can't they just keep this canary at home? Why bring her out to torment everyone? I quietly waited for Ryan's reaction, but after 24 hours, he made no move at all. So when the public was still speculating about who the backer was, I released a second wave of clues. A Cullinan, a man in the driver's seat, a woman in the passenger seat. The woman was eating cherries. She spat out a pit into the man's hand as he held it under her mouth. Very soon, people dug up Ryan's name. They found his company, discovered that he was already married, and learned that I was his wife. This time, his company quickly responded on its official social media account. Just friends. We will not accept malicious speculation and reserve the right to take legal action. At the same time, I also made a public statement. Thanks for asking. We're already divorced. Instantly, the internet exploded with speculation, and it was then that Ryan called me. Why? He asked. I tapped lightly on the table, not denying it, because I wasn't satisfied. When I had a miscarriage, you made two decisions. First, you sent me to the hospital. Second, you caught the next flight to Hong Kong to pick up Olivia. So I made two decisions too. First, to divorce you. Second, to make sure you both suffer a little. Ryan hung up the phone in a rush. Then came the third leak, a video. In the footage, Ryan and Olivia enter the same hotel and never come out until morning. Cheating husbands and mistresses. Love and marriage. These things are always fuel for gossip. Of course, the scandal wouldn't destroy them, but it was enough to make them hurt. Just like I once did. After a night of drinking, I unexpectedly got pregnant. At that time, not even I knew. It was also then that Olivia's family suddenly went bankrupt. Ryan found out and, without hesitation, asked his assistant to book a flight. That day was my grandmother's death anniversary. We were in a highway service area. I asked him to at least let me go back to pay respects. He grew impatient and said, I can't just stand by and watch someone die. Stand by and watch someone die? No one had died, but when he pushed me aside, my child did. Ryan panicked for a moment and rushed me to the hospital. I had a miscarriage, anesthesia, curettage. My lower abdomen was cold as ice. The spasms of pain made me curl into a ball on the bed. Ryan said, Don't be sad, we'll have another child. He tucked me in and warmed my forehand with his own, until it was almost time for his flight, then he left. He was gone for a week, and when he came back, he brought Olivia with him. I was discharged, and everything went on as if nothing had happened. Ryan sighed in relief and told me, Olivia will be staying with us for a while. Please take good care of her. Chapter 15. A scandal always hits a woman harder than it does a man. Amid the endless shouts of get out of the entertainment industry, Olivia broke down. She screamed at me, hoarse and desperate. What gives you the right to treat me like this? What makes you better than me? Everything you have now, didn't you get it all through Ryan? You're just luckier than me. That's all. But Miriam, the one Ryan has always loved, has always been me. You'll never measure up to me. I looked at her, so furious her face was twisted, and said mockingly, Is it because Ryan refuses to touch you? I know him, he won't touch you. That, without a doubt, hit Olivia where it hurt most. She raised her hand to slap me. I didn't dodge. Instead, I lifted my foot and kicked her knee just as she came close. Olivia let out a shriek and collapsed to the floor, pale-faced, her eyes briefly unfocused. You dare hit me? When did I hit you? Weren't you the one kneeling to apologize? Miriam, ah! I grabbed a chair nearby. Her screams turned to terrified silence as I raised it high and stopped it just beside her ear. Her eyes were filled with terror. She trembled uncontrollably, tears spilling out. I looked at her coldly. When I hit someone, I don't know how to hold back. So don't mess with me. By the time Ryan arrived, Olivia was still kneeling on the floor. She tried to throw herself at him, but Ryan stepped away. He waved a hand, motioning for his assistant to take Olivia away. She was clearly unwilling to leave, face red with humiliation. But she didn't say a word. She remembered the pain. Ryan looked at me. He looked heavy, drained, tired, his expression gloomy. If I said I wasn't at all pleased seeing him like that, I'd be lying. Suddenly, I felt light. Ryan, after all, still understood me. He lowered his eyes, giving a bitter laugh. Do you hate me that much? I sat in the executive chair, twirling a pen. Hate? Not quite. That's too strong a word. I just really dislike you. There was a time when I did hate him, but later I realized hate was too passionate a word to describe my feelings. Dislike, disgust, those seemed more accurate, and Ryan clearly felt the sting of those words. His hand twitched. Even his voice was hoarse when he spoke. I never meant to hurt you, but you were always going to end up with Olivia. I wasn't. He said it loud and clear, full of conviction. I turned my head away. Doesn't matter anymore. Leave. Just think about. Get out. To be honest, I wasn't entirely sure whether Ryan had touched Olivia or not. I was bluffing, but the reaction? Exactly what I wanted. Of course, I didn't care if he had touched her. I just wanted to watch the show, make sure they were miserable. Now I think Ryan probably won't touch Olivia anytime soon. And Olivia? She must be panicking. What a show. And the best part? It's just getting started. Chapter 16. Of course, watching the drama is only one part of life. I was actually pretty busy. During this time, Zach asked me out for dinner twice. His sister sent me a string of exclamation marks. You're not really going to become my sister-in-law, are you? I replied with a row of question marks. You're overthinking it. Your brother and I are just friends, purely platonic. Zach was mature and thoughtful, the kind of person you could talk to without effort. But I also knew, if a man truly had no interest in you, he'd rather hang out with other men. If he's spending time on you, it's because he wants something. That day, I once again gave Zach a ride home. He asked if I wanted to come in for a bit. I smiled and shook my head. No need. I ate too much today. Need to go for a night run. I'm a divorced woman over 30, well past the age of believing in love falling from the sky. As for physical intimacy, I'm currently on a health regimen, abstinent. By the time I got home, it was an hour and a half later. I stepped out of the elevator and saw Ryan sitting at my front door. He was leaning against the door, legs curled up. He looked kind of pitiful. I stared at him for a while, then nudged him with my foot. He stirred, lifting his head with bleary eyes. You've got a fever. Ryan passed out right at my doorstep. I stood there, torn between ignoring him or kicking him while he was down. Eventually, my last shred of conscience held me back. I called his assistant. I nudged him aside with my foot and walked into my apartment. About 40 minutes later, I heard noise outside. Someone must have dragged him away. I shrugged. Whatever. A fever won't kill him. But apparently, this incident hit Ryan harder than I expected. Wearing a hospital gown, he stormed in front of me again. His eyes were red, bloodshot. You wouldn't do this to me. Miriam would never treat me like this. She would never abandon me. That line was very telling. He said Miriam. He said she, as if the person in his mouth wasn't me at all. But honestly, I often felt the same. That Miriam who silently protected Ryan, who cleared the path for him, so he could focus on his studies. Sometimes I look back on her and think, how stupid, how naive. And that Miriam who once broke down in pain over Ryan, how could I ever have done something so pathetic, so foolish? But it was me, even if I can no longer empathize with that version of myself. Still, that didn't stop me from lowering my eyes, feeling a flicker of melancholy. Too late, Ryan. There's too much between us. We can't go back. Does it hurt? Yes, it hurts, Ryan. The pain in his eyes, the heavy breathing, his nearly bent-over posture, it all showed it. I'll send Olivia away. It sounded like a promise, but he broke it. The day after he promised to send her away, Olivia slept with him. Photos were sent straight to my phone. Olivia, like a triumphant victor, flaunted, he's mine now. I just laughed. Olivia was out of the game. Ryan, this man, I once thought he was above the world, different from everyone else. Later I realized there's one word that perfectly defines him, performative. He openly rejected Olivia, pretended to despise her, acted distant, yet he was deeply entangled in her, unable to forget her for years. Was he loyal? If he truly were, he wouldn't have been with me. I was there through it all, supporting him. helping him. I believed we were in love. But in the end, he thought I was only fit to suffer with him. He enjoyed all the goodness I gave him while secretly longing for Olivia's affection. Who did he truly love? I used to wonder about that. Then I realized, probably no one. He only ever loved himself. And Olivia? A proud and vengeful princess, when she found that even lowering herself couldn't win Ryan's affection. I figured she'd go back to her old ways, revenge. 2 dogs fighting, just a mouthful of fur. In great spirits, I hummed while packing my suitcase. I was going on a business trip to the capital. It would last 2 weeks, mostly for training and exchange. But before my trip even ended, Olivia pulled a major move. She showed up at the police station with a slap mark on her face, bruises on her neck, and Ryan's DNA sample inside her. She filed a report saying Ryan had raped her. When I heard the news, I was stunned. Ryan, going to prison? Zoe was the one who told me. My silence made her suspicious. You're not feeling sorry for him, are you? I let out a laugh. No, it just doesn't feel real. By the time I returned from the capital, Ryan was already in custody. Of course, no case moves that fast. Olivia wouldn't back down, consumed by revenge. The case took nearly a year, from investigation to indictment and trial. During that time, countless people tried to get info from me. Some even asked me to help him. I turned them all away, firm but polite. My life went on. Ryan and Olivia became nothing more than gossip over dinner. Only one thing is worth mentioning. At one point, Ryan's lawyer passed along a message. He asked if I regretted meeting him. I didn't give an answer, but I thought about it for a long time. And I think I don't regret it. Those days were so bitter, like being soaked in freezing water. Every breath chilled to the bone, and loneliness was worse, like vines strangling your throat until you couldn't breathe. Back then, I needed someone, even if it was just someone sitting next to me, saying a few meaningless words. It made everything more bearable. Yes, he was terrible later. His wrongdoings were like needles, sharp and painful to the touch, but his companionship was real. It was his presence that gave me space to breathe. So what's there to regret? At least, for that time, he made the world feel a little less cruel.